started police work in 1978, worked my way up through the ranks of the Wcrcc Police Department, at which time I attained the rank of a Deputy Chief in Special Operations and Investigations. Went from there, worked a few other police jobs and security jobs, and ultimately ended up as Chief of Police in Braidwood. At Braidwood, I conducted a war on drugs with 155 felony arrests for a village of 6,400 people. And I'm stuck. That happens frequently to me. I get frozen in a position with my age.
It's working fine on my end. I think it's TV. I can still see it fine.
Over here, I see. Yeah, over here.
You're fine on my end.
Yeah.
It's just down here.
Well, look at that. I'm running because Will County government has, for the last 2 years, been dominated by Democrats. Every major office in Will County has a Democrat in charge. There are 10 elected offices that control what's going on in Will County, and all 10 currently are run by Democrats. But I'm running to restore balance in government. I believe we need a balance in government to enact proper legislation that is not all one side. We see what happens in the Cook County swamp when there's just one party rule. We see what happens in Springfield when there's one party rule. There are some very good candidates tonight here that are also going to be speaking pertaining to working in the swamp in Springfield. Also, a few candidates that are going to also speak about representing us in Washington, D.C. With that being said, as a career law enforcement officer, the elimination of the police or incremental defunding of the police will equate to the eradication of restraint in society. The absence of restraint in society will have consequences of a lawless society. Every neighborhood in the United States, every business owner, every citizen deserves to be safe. As a police officer for over 40 years, and as a candidate for the Will County Executive, I stand with our law enforcement community, and I will veto any resolution passed by the Will County Board to defund the police. I will also be a spokesperson and an advocate for any police department within the environs of Will County whose government or legislative government is seeking to defund them, including the state police. The first thing people need to realize is that we're in a revolution. I was a political science major when I was working on my master's degree. Under Lenin abolished the police department, brought in his own police department, and secret police called the Cheka. In fact, Lenin, during the Marxist Revolution in Russia, assassinated normal police. He brought in his people that were released from prison, rapists, robbers, murderers, etc., to do his bidding. I don't know if anybody realizes that with the COVID crisis, the perfect storm, we have felons walking the street that were released from prison and from jail. People who are Democrats need to wake up. They need to understand that this is happening. The first place it's happening is on the West Coast in Seattle and Portland, etc. This is what the communists do. This is what I studied. They take over an area, see how it eventually is accepted by the people, and then they move on to another area. Anybody who doesn't realize that some of these Democrats are working with them, especially certain mayors, need their head examined. I'm sorry I'm being so blunt, but I'm angry. I don't want America to be lost. We need to protect America at high level from the ground up, the grassroots up. We need other candidates that are here tonight to protect us and protect America and protect this wonderful freedom we have at the state level and also at Washington, D.C. We're in a war. I don't want to lose my liberty. I don't think anybody does. Will County has an unincorporated population of approximately 130, 135,000, as best as I can estimate. Another 25,000 is contracted out for the Will County Sheriff's Department to handle Homer Glen. When you look at the entire population of Will County, it's reaching 700,000. Now look at the population of Kenosha, which is about 101,000. Kenosha was also a testing ground to see how far they could push. And it was a testing ground with the Democrat. Like I said before, I'll probably catch some heat. The Democrats need to open up, the decent, God-fearing, freedom-loving Democrats need to open up their eyes and realize what is happening in this society and realize it before it's too late. As your Will County executive, I will also work to repeal the 4-cent gasoline tax that was enacted by the Democrats at the county board level. That'll start from day one. I haven't met a Democrat who has not embraced a tax increase in Will County or at the state level yet. My opponent is also for the quote-unquote fair tax, from what I understand. She approved the wording for the fair tax. Fair tax is just another way to take your tax dollars. Lenin further stated during the Communist Revolution that to get rid of what he called the bourgeoisie, which were the small business owners, the large business owners, the normal people that have a stake in our society. Hang on one second. The bourgeoisie party, bourgeoisie class, which is basically what most of us are, needs to be taxed and milled into the grindstone. If you do not comply, that was, you were targeted by the chicken. One final thought. Joe Biden in 1972 stated that he was proud to be a communist. In fact, in 1972 at a school in Vermont, he stated, "You could call me a communist." Now, this is in 1972. In 1972, Mao Zedong was still alive. In 1972, Mao, who killed 65 million of his own people, was still alive as a communist ruler since the 1940s, at the end of World War II. He was also a communist leader prior to World War II, but formed a coalition with the nationalists to defeat the Japanese. Mao Zedong murdered, killed, starved to death 65 million of his own people. And yet we have Joe Biden posting up with Bernie Sanders, who Bernie Sanders stated it was okay to call him a communist in 1972. So my question is to all of you Republicans, I hope you're voting strong Republican, urging everybody else to get out. My other question to all of you who might be Democrat or Independent is, why would you ever want to vote for a Democrat who is the Democratic Party has been moving further and further left? It's not your father's Democratic Party anymore. And I appreciate your support. If you want www.electricguerrilla.com. Thank you. Oh, any questions? Yeah.
What is America's biggest threat?
Biggest threat right now, in my opinion, is the undermining of our society and not letting the police be the police. We have Democratic mayors who are not letting the police be the police. I don't want to see Will County end up with a Democratic Will County executive who will not let the police be the police. I don't want to see Will County end up with any mayors who will not let the police be the police. Are there problems in policing? Sure. I'll be the first to say that George Floyd was murdered. But I do believe now that I do believe now, and I've talked to quite a few cops that are still on the job and also retired. Every cop I've talked to, every cop I talked to agrees with me that kneeling on somebody's neck for 8 minutes and killing him was a homicide. I don't care what kind of shoes on. They had no business kneeling on him for 8 minutes that day. We need to look at training of how our police are trained. We rely too much on the taser. We rely too much on capstun. It all sounds good, but we need to teach our police officers how to talk and defuse situations. We don't need social workers. We don't need conflict resolutionists. We still need police on the street, period. Because in the wee hours of the morning, when you've been a victim of a crime, do you really want to see a social worker, or do you want to see a cop that's going to take some type of action to correct the wrong? Any other questions? Anybody want to ask me about my department?
I have a Master of Library and Information Science degree, which some people do use for records management. That's basically the function of the Recorder of Deeds office, is keeping all the records of all the properties in Illinois, both residential and commercial, back to the beginning of the county, which is the 1800s. So we have hundreds of years of records of deeds of properties in Will County. And so my plan is to look at the processes and the processes and the procedures that they use in the recorder's office right now with fresh eyes. The current recorder has been there for 3 terms, almost 12 years. So she is most likely complacent, not looking for innovation, not looking for efficiency. That is what I will do. I will find innovation and efficiencies that can be introduced to save both time and money. And if staffing levels can be reduced through attrition, I will plan to do that. So I think there's a void of leadership right now that is going on not only in the recorder's office, but all the executive level offices in Will County. As Nick mentioned, every executive level office in Will County is held by a Democrat, and every one of those Democrats has a chief deputy that they have hired for a high 5-digit salary, and they actually run the office. And the elected official can either show up or not. They can either have input or not. And I don't think that's the right way to head a department. I think if you are a manager of a department, you should know what your employees are doing. You should know how to do their jobs, and you should be involved in not necessarily the day-to-day operations, but you should know what the day-to-day operations are, and you should know how to manage that. So I intend to end the void of leadership that is going on in the recorder's office. I have it on good authority that she rarely goes to the office now in her 11th year, and she, when she does show up, she often brings her dog, which is obviously very unprofessional. So these are the types of things that would not happen on my watch. My other qualification for this is that I've been on the county board since December 2014. So I have nearly 6 years working for the county as an elected official. I've gotten to know sort of how various offices within the county work together, their relationship between one another. And so I have a little bit of experience, but not too much experience to look at county government critically. So the current recorder also has a nasty habit of executing no-bid contracts for large purchases. In this case, it happens to be software. Both times were software. In 2010, she executed a no-bid contract with Aptitude Solutions for $430,000 for a software package. It did not end up working. So then in 2014, she had to execute another no-bid contract for software from Fiddler Technologies, which was even more expensive. This one, in the first 21 months of that product, the Fiddler product, cost taxpayers $488,000. These are amounts of money which I think are high enough. We should be bidding these things. We should not just be going to one vendor and just giving them our business. So that is my platform, and I will answer this question, and then I will take any other questions. America's biggest threat. I'm torn. I'm torn between is it socialism/communism, or is it the national debt? And they're very interrelated. If you think of Greece a few years ago and the unrest that happened there as a result of their government finally trying to get their national debt under control, you can see the interrelation between socialism and having a lot of national debt and the negative environment that creates and the unrest that can come from that. So I think these are both things that we need to tackle, confront, and get under. We need to get our national debt under control, and we need to push back on socialism. We need to keep God in our country. We need to defend our Second Amendment. We absolutely must have our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights, our precious rights. And they are rights that I, for one, refuse to give up, and I know there's a lot of other patriots here who feel the same way. Right. So these are the things that I believe in, that I will fight for, and that I will never give up.
So, what we about Bill 5717?
I'm not familiar with that one. Is that?
And taxes to the state government, and the taxes on ammunition, and the taxes on rifles and what have you.
Okay, so he's asking about House Bill 5717, I believe you said. So it's a taxing bill. And what the Democrats have long tried to do in Illinois and other places is they have tried to limit our Second Amendment rights by making it so expensive to exercise those rights that they're effectively taken away, that you effectively have lost that right. So yeah, obviously I don't believe in new taxes. I don't believe in taking away the Second Amendment. So I'm not running for the General Assembly, but obviously I would oppose a bill like that. Right.
What's your current occupation and what makes you qualified to run this?
Okay, well, I mentioned a couple of things, but I actually have 3 jobs right now. I'm on the county board for District 5, which is about half of Naperville, half of Plainfield, and all of the Aurora portion of Will County. I also work for an Edward Jones office 4 days a week. So I help with the front office aspect of the financial office. So I have a little bit of familiarity with federal financial laws and that sort of thing, because we deal with a lot of a lot of those things. And then my third job is I have a freelance business. I do writing, editing, and proofreading for mostly business to business type of things, and also my Republican friends. I like to help as much as possible. But yeah, so I have a master's of library and information science. I love research. I love digging out the facts, the truth. And so these are things that help me, but also information taxonomy, information architecture, information retrieval. These are the things that you learn in library school, and these are the things that will help me as a reporter of tea. Maybe, you know, if you... Oh, yeah, he asked about fees for getting a copy, ordering an online copy of Feed. What I will say is that in my time on the county board, I have found it to be very ineffectual and frankly irrelevant to compare Will County to other counties. Our environment is different. Our economic environment is different, and so they're always trying to do that on the county board. Oh, well, the other county, their county board members make this much money and they have these type of benefits, or the Forest Preserve employees or board members have this type of salary, these type of benefits, or they charge these type of fees for their forest preserves. I find that to be irrelevant. Will County is its own entity, and I think that we need to chart our own path, and we need to not, we certainly don't want to be overly influenced by the likes of Cook County, the likes of Springfield. So I am... Yes, and actually, I believe I was on the board in the fall of 2014. She asked the board for permission to raise the fees for recording of documents, and because she knew that the product that she was buying was very expensive. So yes, that's when you buy an expensive product, you can't give away the product of it.
Thank you. I'm Jim Passantini, and what she said about the township boards, I've been involved with Cree Township. I've been on the board 16 years. I've been involved in Cree Township for almost 30. I started off as a committee man and worked myself up. I'm senior trustee on the board right now. And running for coroner, I do have a little bit about my experience. I've been in the fire service for 43 years, part-time between two departments. I am an EMT for 36 years, and at the end of my term, I should have enough hours to recertify for another 4. So I think with that education, I've seen a lot, I've handled a lot. Also, I do have an associate's in criminal justice, certified pharmacy technician for 40 years, and I had, in my early days, quite a few years ago, I had almost 4 years of training on a cadet police force. But I got all aspects, police, fire, and the medical. As the coroner, I would always have an open door policy for the employees. It's just, communication is a big thing. I would like to build a better communication, being in the fire service and dealing with police departments when I would build a better communication between the law enforcement and the police departments. In my off time, if I'm not doing anything, I'd be traveling to fire departments, police departments, and communication, asking them, is there anything I can do that would make it better? You know, and it's just something that I like doing. And my thing is, and I've been for years, is the communication. I know I keep on repeating it, but that's the thing is, if you don't bring it out or talk about it, who's going to know? So, and I've been, as far as with experience, I worked on an investigation team with our Mavis district for probably approximately 10 to 12 years, investigating crime scenes. I worked with police departments as far as a photographer, which I am still a photographer, but I'd like to build not really change the coroner's office, but try to get a little more communication along it. And where I live in eastern Will County, in the Crete area, we don't have a deputy coroner for that area. So if we ever call out for a deputy coroner, sometimes we have to wait over an hour for them to come. And there's been people, myself included, have had applications in, and the reason I was told, because I was Republican and the coroner was Democrat, came out right and said that. And I think that's wrong when you got two people that are qualified, that will do it, that will work together. Here we go with communication again. The two of us, we have been friends for years, and we would cover each other if we had to, but that they're bringing in the parties. When you got people qualified, why? And as far as what is America's biggest threat, I think the debt is a big thing. They keep on raising taxes, trying to figure it's going to level out somewhere, and it doesn't. It keeps on just going, getting deeper and deeper. And I'm a big advocate in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. I mean, if you can't voice your opinion, why, it's more a communist than anything else. So, as far as any other questions from anybody? Okay. Yeah, that was brought to my attention way after Nick's question was that if I knew that the coroner could arrest the sheriff. And when I found that out was like months after I decided I was going to run for it. Yeah, the only one. And I didn't know that at all. It floored me, but I'm like, it's crazy. I'm not like that. I don't want the power, and stuff like that. And then another thing that I like, or that I would do, and me being on the township board, I've had residents, when they were signing my petition for the primary, they go, when you said you were going to do something for the township, and what I do, I oversee the mosquito abatement program. You do it. You don't go back on your word. And this is one that I really, if I was at home on a Sunday afternoon, not doing anything, watching, sports on TV or out in the yard, and I heard a town call for a deputy coroner, and it's somewhat drivable distance from my house, I would get in my car and go. Not to oversee the deputy coroner there, but show your face to the police department and the fire departments and to the public. Because when I get elected, they're going to, and I show up at a house or something, they see me, they're going to say, hey, that's the guy that we voted for in the general election. And if they, you got to be visible, not sitting in office, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. So my thing is be visible and communication with the employees, open door policy, and go from there.
Well, I do apologize that I did not make it. That's why I'm zooming in. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes, no?
Yes?
Are we just not?
So, my name is Amy Perez. I'm running for Will County Board District 1. Some of the three things that I'm focusing are family, future, and freedom. I am for safety for our neighborhoods and community. It is very important for the family. I'd like to focus on clean air, clean water, and sustainable local clean food sources for our future. I will not stand for defunding the police or taking part out of the board. Our freedoms matter. A little bit about my background. My qualifications range from patient care, customer relations, and clinical management. I relish over 10 years of experience serving the public. It's something that I always have truly cared about, helping people. Having this skill set gives me the ability to speak to strangers, ask them what their problems are, listen to them and help find solutions. That's exactly what a good county board member should do. As far as the biggest threat in my eyes would be the defunding of law enforcement. That statement speaks for itself. Law and order must be kept to ensure safety and security for our communities and family. And as a single mother, that's huge to me. So I don't understand why we would defund this. As Nick said, we need to restore balance in the government, and I also agree with Wcrcc to pro Second Amendment. We're in a war right now, guys, so I'm glad to be stepping up. I'm happy to be stepping up, and I'm going to take it on. I'm going to win, and I'm going to help and do whatever I can to help the future of Will County. Thank you. And if anybody has any questions, you guys have to take the group off mute. There we go. Thank you.
Amy, before you go away, we had a question that came for every candidate, and that is, what is America's biggest threat here in 2020? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not hear her say that. Okay. Anybody else here? Nick has a question here from the office. Nick?
Well, I would like to know, as far as
Amy, Nick Wcrcc, our future county executive, would like to know what your opinion on the Peatone Airport is.
Oh, no, we don't want it.
And who should fund it?
We're not going to, that's not going to happen. Not on my watch. No airport. We don't want it. That goes with my, the local sources for the food. We don't want to kick these farmers out. They've worked too hard for their lands all their whole lives. We don't want an airport. I do not want that. No thanks.
Amy, I have another question here.
Amy mentioned something about.
Amy, a gentleman here would like to know if you mentioned something about endangered species. We may not have heard it correctly.
No, but that's very important. No, I didn't say anything about that. I am all for that. We'd like to keep our lands out here protected. I know once I get on the board, I'm going to be involved with the Forest Preserve Commission, so that's something that I truly have a passion for. So protecting the endangered species is something that I am all for. Yes?
We have one more question.
Mention the environment.
No,
Hang on.
absolutely
Right
not.
to us here. Oh, here
It's
it
a
is.
long one.
You mentioned environmental concerns and sustainability. Would you be an advocate for the Green New Deal when you're on the new county?
Anything with that Green New Deal, no thanks, again. I do stand strong on conservation and preservation practices for Cleaner and Greener Tomorrow, but anything involved with that Green New Deal, no. Nope. Sorry.
Nope.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Sorry about the miscommunications and confusion, but thank you.
Hey, I think we've done pretty well tonight, so no problem. Thank you.
For those who graduate, have to take remedial courses when they get to college. Something that they should have learned of the taxpayer dime. Now they get to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 an hour in a college to learn. In addition to that, we're no longer an industrial society. We're a technology society. We're a service society. And it's more important than ever that kids get a good start. And I believe that we have to do better in funding and involvement in K through 5. Those are the foundations that kids need to be successful. And we need to do a lot of things. We need intervention programs. Teachers have to have more control in the classrooms, and they have to have better tools to be able to teach. They have to know where kids come from. They have to know if they're trying to deal with a kid and two parents are working 4 jobs to stay afloat. If it's a single parent, if a person comes from a family that's no education at all, those things we have to do, and the funding is there in Illinois. Illinois spends $15,000 for every pupil. Our neighboring states, Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, spend $10,000. So the money's there someplace. We have to figure out where the money is, and we have to get it there. We're also having our universities, populations are dropping. I graduated from Southern Illinois. At the time, it had 30,000 population. Today, it has 10,000 population. My 2 granddaughters looked at Illinois, looked at some of the other state schools. They could get the same education, or maybe better in some instances, in other schools. So one of them was out of state. The other one went to Bradley because there were some courses there that she was interested in. We have a GAP program to subsidize kids to go to college. You can go to any college in the United States virtually off of the GAP program. If we want to get kids in the Illinois schools, we should cut back some of those funds and just make them only available to people that want to go to the Illinois schools. We do 2 things. Cut down our budget, and we help build our schools. There's so many things that we can do here in the state of Illinois. Property taxes isn't a state issue. Those are local. I mean, we go to the polls, we vote for those referendums to raise our taxes. Most of the school board, which is 69-70% of our property tax bill, I think we should have a bill go through in the state of Illinois that all referendums are voted on at the national election. You're going to have more people turn out, and special interests will no longer control what comes out in the way of referenda and the results of elections. There's so many things we can do in Illinois. Another thing we can do in Illinois. Illinois has 90 agencies. Everything from PCMS, which we know is in trouble and needs a lot of help, but we actually have a commission for ethics. Ethics isn't in the vocabulary in Springfield. So I think we can eliminate some of those, and we can combine some to cut back on some expenses. We just want to listen to Illinois, who wants to spend more money and waste more money every year on pet projects and do everything to scare the taxpayer. Unless we get more money, we're going to have to cut your things. We're not going to give you your refund checks as quickly. We're going to not fund schools as well. Scare tactics, as they've been using for years. No, this is a thing for all people in Illinois. This isn't Democrat. This isn't Republican. It's turning a state around that's one eye long. I've grown up here, got 81 years under my belt, and I expect to have it heck of a lot more. But we got to get out the polls. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope I get your support in the polls this fall. What's the problem with America? America. Very simple. We have become so polarized and so divisive that we're our own problem. Take a look at the progressive tax. They're telling everybody why 97% of you are going to make out if we pass this tax. Well, 97% might save $250, $300 on a bill. The 3% that pay 60% of the state taxes in Illinois, a lot of them were packing the bags that they've done for the last years, where we've lost a population of 800,000 people, and they'll continue to do so. Don't ever expect to get a new company coming in there. Forbes just published the top 100 best companies to work for in Illinois. Manufacturing was less than 10. Those things can change. The foolish regulations the foolish things we've got going on in Springfield, and let's do it. Let's do it. You're going to have to speak loudly.
You mentioned the loss of 800,000
Yes.
people, but big trucks, you could ride down trucks, and we have 800,000 less people to serve. What would you do?
What would I do? Well, we have to make it a more friendly state to live in. We have to lower taxes. I mean, do you realize how ridiculous this will be if this progressive tax goes through? We're already paying the highest property, second highest property taxes in the United States, which means that property values are going down to nothing. Oh, that's a hurt. If you put in that progressive tax, there is not a reason in the world a company would want to show up in Illinois. And so you've got to stop the fool things, and the fool things are spending. Any conservative, any group, conservative or otherwise, will tell you that there's a waste of anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion a year in Springfield. Good friend of mine, Ted Brula, who started Hollywood theaters, very innovative. He and I have been into it every once in a while because he does a lot of work where it comes to preservation of historic theaters. But there's something about that. The Uptown Theater in Chicago was bought in 2008 by very good production companies, something Jam or something like that, I don't remember the name. And they have not been able to raise a cent for it. And there are all kinds of tax incentives for people to invest in restoration of those centers. I mean, come up with a, Illinois is giving $25 million. Government entrepreneurship has never worked from the days of Thomas Jefferson. That's just $25 million of your money, my money, that was thrown down the drain. We have to stop those foolish things. Those will bring people back into Illinois. Yes.
$5,000.
Right.
5,000 or 25,000. And almost high school. And Brandon would E or F school.
Well, that's true.
So, for you, I didn't go to school short parents, it's going to be used like, was $5,000 and 5% of the kids, whatever school they want, and deduct it on their income.
Certainly I am pro-choice. The idea is to be success in the future. And to get that success, you do it the ways you can do it. You can get a great education in public school. There's no question about it. I'm except for my spelling, which everybody points out, I got a pretty good education. It's always been in college and public schools. In many instances, I know people are doing much better from their public education at the secondary level than somebody from the Ivy League. It's what you've got to do it. The biggest problem that you've got in some of these things is just plain poverty. I mean, poverty is something, I don't want to go off on this tangent, I'm going to be very short, but poverty is a problem for such low rates in the inner city.
Poverty, no. They have a short, they know what the other schools are.
Right.
But they're not allowed to use vouchers.
Why do you say they aren't allowed to use them? Why you got, there's vouchers available for everybody.
Yeah. There is no school choice. No.
I don't know that I agree with that. I think there's always a choice for school. I mean, sometimes it's a difficult choice to make. Sometimes geographically you're in trouble where it's difficult to get to another school. But you always have some kind of a choice where you have, and that's why I'm saying getting back to giving teachers more tools so there's an intervention at K through 5 level so that they can get some help that they may not get from home. And everything begins at home. at anything, education, what have you. And if we can get that help, it's going to help the kids in education.
This is how it works. Want your kids know, like in Ivy League school, there's little forest. You should be able to. And then people pay enormous amounts of money to buy homes in this. That's really,
Sure.
what do they call magnets? That's what they call them. But it's like, that where you send your kid. Why don't they get it in their, one INSAP, them for grade school. That's what that's not true.
The most successful charter school in the United States is in Washington, D.C. It was started by two tech guys. But it's like inner city, which draws down averages, and they put people behind. It's an environmental situation. And they take these kids on Monday, bring them to school, and they go home on Friday. So they're strictly in an educational environment for a month. Every one of them goes on to a top grade college.
This is for the federal reporting better than
Right. Anything else? Well, I answered that question before. What's America's problem? America.
Yep.
It's divisive. You don't hear Nancy Pelosi open her mouth without telling you the rest of the world, 99% of the world is getting set up by the 1%. And like I said with the progressive tax, 3% of the population that pays 67% of the tax, they don't tell you that. It's the 97% that is in it.
All right. Thank you
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to do a little bit of a switch here. We have a surprise entry for it. Not an entry, I guess it's not the right name for it. But we do have Mark Curran on the phone with us tonight. So, Mark, are you there? Unmute him and...
Judy, can you hear me? Can you all see me or no?
Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Am I double talking there? Echoing.
So, yeah, Judy, did you want me to go? Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, Mark.
Okay. So, my campaign's going well. I'm working hard, spending a lot of time down in central and southern Illinois. No days off, just going. As you all know, there's 13 million people in this state, 102 counties, a lot of territory to cover. I feel like we're doing a good job. We're getting out there. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of support for our president in central and southern Illinois, very, very strong. And even out west, I think that my sense is he's going to do better in McHenry County, in Boone County, in Rockford, Winnebago County than he did last cycle even. So tons of support for President Trump. When we get way up north where I live, sometimes you don't see that because the media works so hard against him. But he's doing great. And as far as my game, I'm feeling good. We have a strong grassroots. We're working really hard. We put out about 500,000 pieces of literature so far. We got 10,000 signs in the ground. A lot of large signs. We're ordering more as we speak. We have, our email and social media is constantly moving, constantly connecting. So everything's going really strong. We're trying to help everybody out there. I know that Tom McCullough is running a great race. It's just I follow him around a lot of places, and he's out there killing it. just a lot of great candidates on the ballot, and I really feel good about it. Huge contrast in terms of what we stand for as Republicans versus what the Democrats stand for, and I think it's just really, we're going to be surprised, I think, with really good numbers. Me personally, I think that I need essentially about 30% of Cook County. I'll do well in the other collars, I believe. I got to get out to Will. I've been out in DuPage a lot. I'm going to try to get out there more. Nick Vicarello's been great as far as just taking my signs and holding on that. But we're going to have an event out in Will as well coming up soon. So, Judy, I'm happy to answer any questions. Any questions for me or anything?
You want me to? Okay, we do have a question mark. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
We've got somebody that wrote it in, so let me.
Yeah. So let me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mark, would you support federal legislation that would limit marriage to a union between only two human beings?
Sure. I mean, I was probably one of the only people who came out in favor of elected, that is, up north, that came out in favor of traditional marriage. I was the only one in my county, the only Republican who was elected that came out in favor of traditional marriage. I just felt that what's best for a child is to have a mother and a father, and that nuclear family, and that a mother and a father complement each other. So this constant movement in terms of marriage is not, obviously it's getting silly if we're talking about animals and what have you. Any other questions? What's that?
Could you repeat that, please?
Will your opponent, Dick Durbin, debate you as what has he accomplished in half a century?
He's talking, but we're not hearing him.
Now you can hear me? Can
Okay,
you hear me now?
we also had
Judy, can you hear me now? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Why are we not?
Can you hear me now? Hello? All right, so the question was about Dick Durbin and what he's done in the last 38 years, 24 in the Senate, 14 in the House. So Dick Durbin is essentially, he got his wife $1 million lobbying job. He got his son $1 million lobbying job. If you go to East St. Louis, his hometown where he grew up, where his parents raised him, where teachers molded him, he's done nothing. East St. Louis is arguably the worst city in America. It really is, and I don't say that lightly. You have to drive through it, and you see one burned-down structure after another. And these structures have been in that state for decades. So Dick Durbin, I think that reflects on his character, the fact that he cares so little about East St. Louis. A good friend of mine, Paul Schimpf, applied to be a federal judge at the suggestion of the White House. And he was all set to be confirmed, but Dick Durbin would not let his name be called to the floor of the Senate for confirmation, so he had to withdraw his name. So Dick Durbin, the reason why he did that was because Paul Schimpf was pro-life. He won't do anything for anybody that's pro-life. But if you want to know what he's done, he's number 2 in the Senate for a reason. He's the whip. And essentially that means, he rallies up the votes for this far-left legislation. There's nothing he doesn't embrace. He sees no evil in anything. He's been with the defund the police. He's been with any bad thing going on in the Democratic Party. He is right there. He has a lot of people fooled by the fact that he seems so measured and calm and what have you, but it's all a game. He is a far left diabolical figure, and I really feel like this is our chance to take him out. Any other questions?
We have a follow-up question to that, Mark. Why will he not debate you?
Okay, so he's already turned down multiple debates, and we're going to put that out there that he's turned them down. He's going to be forced to go to the Daily Herald and the Sun-Times endorsement session and be on Zoom with me. And you know, we're expecting to hit him really hard on those days, so that'll be something. The reason why he won't debate me is he thinks that this is a blue state and he doesn't have to do anything, and he's just going to get reelected on name alone, and that's his strategy. I think he's underestimated the fact that I have significant strength in the collar counties. So, you know, we're feeling good, and I think it's a bad calculation by him that he's not willing to do anything.
Thanks, Mark. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Judy. I apologize. I was on Cook County is having a Zoom forum too, and so I was bouncing back and forth, and that's why I walked upstairs, because it was, you all were over here in Cook County, and Sean Morrison, I don't want you to do that. Take care.
Thank you, Mark. We've been trying to connect with Tim Ozinga, who is running for State House 37, and we have been able to connect with him now. So, Tim, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you for having me. So I'll just go through real quick. Tim Ozinga, I'm running for State Representative, District 37. That includes Mokina, Frankfort, New Lenox, Homer Glen, southern parts of Orland Park and Tinley Park. A local business owner from the Mokina area, was born and raised in Homer Glen and then Orland Park before moving to Mokina, and also have the opportunity to have our business headquartered in Mokina as well. A lot of you may be familiar with the red and white striped trucks you see driving around helping to build our local communities, which is something we've had the honor and privilege to do for the past 92 years. My great-grandpa started the business, and now we're in the fourth generation where I get to work alongside 5 brothers and a cousin. And between the 7 of us, we have 32 kids who are all located in the Illinois area. So we have a lot invested here, a big family, and we're proud to call this community home, and we're here to stay. And it's out of that passion for this community that I've really enjoyed the opportunity to pursue this and serve in this way. As a business, we believe that everything we have belongs to God, and we treat that way in terms of why we come to work every day. It's to make a positive impact on the community. And this is just another opportunity to do that. So it's an honor and privilege to be here, and thank you for that. In terms of serving, the kind of what I hope to accomplish and work with you to do is to make sure that we keep our state competitive. We live in the United States. You can move right across the border, and we're seeing that a lot. And so what we really need to do is protect working families and retired families from more tax increases. We need more taxpayers, not more taxes. And in addition to that, just really working to be a principled, solid voice, holding our state government accountable to our Constitution, and fighting to do some ethics reform in our state. Obviously, we know there's a lot of corruption issues. And as a result of that, we have a lot of folks that are very comfortable in Springfield. And one of the things that I've committed to do is to term limiting myself to 3 terms. I believe that this should be, temporary service, and that people should return back to their day jobs when they're done. So, other than that, I can open it up for questions, but that's it in a nutshell. Can't hear you.
Okay, Tim, we do have a question that was asked to all the candidates. What is America's biggest threat?
I think, from my perspective, there was some really inspired people that created an amazing document 250 years ago. And I think there's a reason why that document still stands today. So I think one of the greatest threats is when people continue to interpret the Constitution. You'll hear people call it a living Constitution, or that we need to interpret it differently these days. And I think the more and more we get away from that, the more in danger we become as a United States. So.
Totally agree. Thank you. We have another question.
Wanted to say thank you to and as well as the OC family for your kind-heartedness and the Anna Foundation and the related donor for credit at the Foundation. One by the and serve the family and companies function, work, and health. And I developed 4 kids get a better education and help people better a lot. Thank you.
Were you able to hear that?
I caught bits and pieces of it.
Gentlemen, thank you for your contributions of you and your family for the Madonna Foundation, the Franciscan nuns, helping with the education and abused women. The different charities that Ozingas have always been able to take part in throughout their communities that they have facilities in. So he was thanking you for that.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. It's one thing that it goes to kind of what I mentioned before, but the opportunity to serve the community goes beyond just making a dollar. And one of the things that we've had the privilege to do over the generations of the business is give back a certain portion of all we make back to the local community. And it's really great to hear stories like that. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate your time and making time for us to show up tonight. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Judy. It's good to see everybody.
We did have Gerald Smith, who is now able to join us. Gerald, are you still with us? We're going to get you unmuted. Hang on here.
Yes, I am here.
Can't hear you, Judy.
Yep. If you could remember to answer the question of America's biggest threat when you're done, or wherever you want to fit it into your introduction. Thank you. Welcome, Gerald.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Gerald Smith, and I'm currently running as a candidate for the Will County Board for District 13. I desire to use my knowledge, my experience, and my skill sets as a retired active duty Army officer, a retired college professor, and a retiring attorney, and also a former elected trustee or board member for the Village of Mahomet, to work as a fiscal conservative and a social conservative for the overall good of the people of Will County. I'm an honest and truthful individual. I'm not a politician. I would never promise anything that I could not deliver, and I'm not one who favors partisan politics. As I stated, I'm a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel with nearly 22 years of active duty experience with the Army Corps of Engineers. Most of my work in the Army was involved with construction management, project development, and budget programming. I'm also a retired college professor teaching business management courses at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana and then at Millikan University in Decatur. My specialty was in human resources. the people side of organizations, and I was certified as a professional in human resources and then a senior professional in human resources as well. I'm currently a retiring attorney focusing in the areas of employment, labor law, civil rights, and school law. I assisted individuals with issues regarding discrimination in the workplace, wrongful terminations, and workplace and school bullying. I believe my education and skill set would be an asset for Will County. I believe we need to be examining our county infrastructure now, planning for 30 or 40 years into the future rather than just 5 years. My Army engineer experience will greatly assist me with this, as well as evaluating construction projects within and for the county. And as a former business management teacher and small business owner, I understand what small businesses need and are seeking to survive and thrive in Will County. I believe that human resources are the key to success with any organization. I've always taught that happy employees are more productive employees. Will County currently employs approximately 2,600 employees with an annual payroll in excess of $175 million. I believe my experience in the management of human resources, coupled with my legal expertise in employment and labor matters, would be a great asset when evaluating county operations. And then as a former board member for the village of Muhammad, just outside Champaign, I understand local governmental needs and operations, and I also understand local government budgets and limitations. And through my review of the village budgets and expenses, I discovered anomalies which led to the discovery of embezzlement of the village funds by a village employee. I do look at budgets, and I look at expense reports and so forth. Financial management is one of the areas that I'd like to be focusing in on, as well as infrastructure and human resources. Now, the question is, what's the greatest threat facing America today? It's not China, it's not Russia, it's not socialism, it's not America's indebtedness, it's not the ongoing rioting, it's not the coronavirus, but rather it's a lack of responsibility at both the individual and collective levels. People are only looking at what will give them the most benefit, and that's really short-term benefit. This lack of responsibility becomes manifest in increasing number of educational dropouts, increased workforce dropouts, coupled with a lack of desire to find meaningful employment. It also results in increased drug abuse, a desire to erase history, or in other words, to learn from our mistakes, and primarily a lack of desire or inability to look long-term. This leads to financial mismanagement, indebtedness, over-reliance on government to take care of us, multi-generational welfare, a desire for socialism, increased social class warfare, especially between the haves, those who have accepted responsibility for their actions and worked hard and sacrificed and reaped the benefits of their hard labor, and the have-nots, who do not accept responsibility for their actions, amongst other things. Individuals need to take responsibility for their actions as well as their inaction. This also includes politicians. And groups such as the Democratic Party really need to accept responsibility for their actions and stop blaming others for their misfortunes. That's why I'm running for this office this year. And welcome any other questions you might have at this time.
In general, and we always laugh at CPAs, is the people who are like in control of the finances. Not one of them. There's a few in the past. There are CPAs, and it just amazes me that people get in a financial position, elected financial position, and doesn't have, some accounting background. That's just how it works, and it goes back to how gerrymandering works and how the comes out of Chicago, how especially in the suburban collar counties, that the machine controls it, and it's really sad that they do. But if I get elected, want to clean that up. How do I do that? The last 12 years, my understanding, when you do auditing, you usually find exceptions. And what exception means, you find something that's not kosher. Go that route, or up to generally accepted accounting principles. Not that it could be illegal, but there could be lack of controls, lack of accountability. As the auditor, you should be able to uncover that. That's what you get paid to do, and you should be able to find some exceptions. To the other, when I become the auditor, would definitely want to have, like, any government contract should be done at the local level and give the jobs back to the county. The more I hear there's more government contracts giving to other counties, and it'd be one thing if it was a county where maybe the labor rates are lower or whatever, maybe the benefits are a little bit cheaper, but I keep hearing these contracts are going to Cook County, in honor of Blues Brothers. I usually say Quirk County, but I am being recorded, so I better be correct here. But yeah, I mean, that's just, why are we not having government contracts awarded to local owned business owners? That just bothers me. So if I get a chance, when I become the auditor, I'll definitely review, the actual contract bidding process to make sure that everything is on the up and up. 3, in general, they were talking about in the previous about the state of Illinois, their fiscal problems, their financial problems. I think that the biggest issue, and I know I'm going to step on toes, is these pensions. You can ask any CPA that has tax clients, and I have a tax practice, and we get state of Illinois employees, school teachers. They get, people don't understand about the pensions in Illinois, how they're set up, is they get cost of living adjustments that every 8 to 9 years, when they retired 10 years ago or 8 years ago, they might be making $40,000 a year. They are now making $80,000 in a pension. And it just, I've been working for private businesses since I graduated from college in 1987. And you can ask any business owner, there's no way you would start a business if you had that kind of onerous. They have literally the voice of America for the small guy. I don't care if it's individual, small business, medium-sized business. You don't have freedom of speech anymore. And if you do, and you make ways, they try to shut you down via liberal press, whatever you want to call it. But it just seems like they're in the back pockets of a lot of the higher ups in the government, and a small guy and gal doesn't have a chance. So, any questions? Oh, okay.
So, do you know, in the 3 terms that Jeffrey Blackburn has been the auditor, do you know how many instances of exceptions, waste, fraud, and abuse he has found? And my other question is, do you know what he spends most of his time on?
My understanding is no exceptions have been found in the last 12 years, and my understanding is he's a professor at a college. And I'm not a school teacher, kindergartner teacher, but if you got paid and you're an elected official, you should show some time. And okay. So, any other questions? Yes. The question was, does the county have an independent auditor, and do I know the name of the firm? I do not know the name of the firm, but generally accepted government accounting, they do have an independent auditing. I would, yeah.
They ever consider special audit?
When I become an auditor, yes. Exactly. I'm a big internal control type situation. You need to have certain departments handle certain things, and other departments you have, control, between, overseeing that there are independent parties.
They're about pension, the pensions, government, like the, and we all, 50% automatic, your pension. And also, are exempt from the state.
Well, I'm not opposed to doing that. I know people think that's, completely incorrect, but every other state that's balanced, most of them tax retirement accounts and income from a retirement account. The federal government does. I mean, but it's usually the side note in Illinois. It's not the revenue, tax revenue, the problem. If you look at the chart going back 40 years, revenue is just, it's like, it keeps going up. The expenses are like skyrocketing. And to be honest with you, the number rule is, I'm also a financial planner too, besides doing taxes. Number one rule in financial planning is don't spend more than what you make, people. I mean, it's not, you're going to have MBAs or PhDs, but it's really not that hard. Yeah, Nick was first. He's an opponent of certified accountant. Yeah, he marketed it on his website. He says CPA, I believe. I don't know. I have to verify that. I don't know. Yeah, I can check that. Yeah, we'll report back to you at the next meeting. Yeah. Is he working? Oh, the working. Oh, I didn't hear you say working. No, he teaches at a college, and then he said, does cybersecurity or whatever. Which, anyways. So he's another one. Basically, yeah. She actually has to. She was. Oh, you were just showing. Okay, yes.
So I'm curious if your opinion of the quote-unquote spare tax.
Oh, well, it is being sold to the state of Illinois citizens, and I guarantee you about 80% of them think it's just an increase in income tax. We're just going to have income tax go up, blah, blah, blah. But it's actually an amendment to the state of Illinois Constitution. Yes. I'm telling you, everybody here, you need to vote no. And you can ask my wife and my kids. I never ask them how they vote or tell them how to vote. I learned early on in my marriage, you never tell anybody how to vote. So, anyways, what's that? Vote no. I cannot believe, and I'm telling you, it's a Chicago machine that's pushing this thing through. Yeah, right. It just amazes that they actually had the audacity to actually put it on as an amendment to the state of Illinois Constitution.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it was controlled by both house and both houses down there. I mean, to be honest with you, side note, and I'm probably going to get killed for saying this, but I think we need to revamp the whole state of Illinois Constitution. I was saying at 50 years old, right, we can ratify a new one. We got the first thing is term limits, and this whole lottery. You go to any other state in America, they tell you what they spend. The lottery, how much winnings they make, the income off of that, and how much it goes to support public schools. So,
They lie.
Yeah.
They lie.
Oh, and by the way, side note, sorry, George, you want to go, but here's the deal. I actually have 3 clients that are retired school teachers from Illinois. They are the most prized employees when they retire. Every other state in the nation wants those school board districts to know the benefits are so rich in their retirement that they don't have to pay for the pension and they don't have to pay for their health insurance benefits. They hire them at astronomical rates. I mean, it's insane. Florida and Ohio are the 2 states that have the highest pay for Illinois school teachers retired. I mean, sorry, no offense if you're a retired school teacher, but when you hear that stat, you're like, really? That's how, they know they don't have that 33% cost. So, anyways, any other questions? All right.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks for coming in. So I did have this sign here. These are some of the signs that we have here at our office. Here's my
commercial break. And we do have a lot of candidate signs also. So please start, we can be visiting and seeing people here at the office. Tom McCullough. Hello, sir. We can thank Tom. He's his very handymanship helped put our TV up, or did put the TV up here at the office.
Look at that. Almost prepared. All right. Let's look at the camera. What you were saying earlier. So I'm Tom McCullough. I'm running for Illinois State Senate District 49. Been pretty active since the beginning. I'm a regional manager. I was a former regional manager for a restaurant company. I'm a small business owner presently. And we all had a great time getting on the ballot. We all worked together, worked live, did an amazing job. He was out every time we were doing, getting signatures. Brick came right out. I know Jim Overweiss hasn't made it on today, but he helped out pretty strong too, and thank him for that. But then COVID happened, and that's when us Republicans had an opportunity to really show who we were as people. In March, I started a mask shield initiative with Joliet Junior College and other local community colleges in the area. We produced over 30,000 mask shields in conjunction with Eric Allen. We got those to the first responders, our nurses, our doctors inside the hospitals. When they were told they had to use those same respirators for months and months or weeks and weeks at a time, when we were out there, we were delivering those to the COVID wings inside those hospitals. And then as April 8th came and went for the governor's executive orders, we were out there in the streets fighting with rallies. We were doing Reopen Illinois rallies. We were pretty upset. We can't say other words because this is recorded. We were pretty upset that the governor was saying that it's okay to loot and riot, but it's okay to praise God. That it's okay to loot and riot, but it's not okay to open up for small businesses. As I check, this is America, and personal liberty is one of the things I take to heart, and that's something that we're born with is our liberty, and nobody has a right to take that away for any reason. And then I heard that I was told by somebody that the masks were actually polling higher than police, and so while I was at the meeting, I decided to make that event a rally. So I came out, and I was the first candidate and the first person in the state of Illinois that did a pro-police rally. So we did that on June 19th, was in the height of the riots and the height of everything going on in the state of Illinois. I was told I was going to be racist, and so I don't care what people say about me. I don't care what they're going to say in the newspapers. They can call me racist. They can call me whatever they want, but it's the right thing to do, and the right thing to do should never be waiting on polls to do the right thing. You lead from the gut, you lead by the heart, and that's what I plan to do when I get to Springfield. Because in regards to the police, I think we have a media problem. We don't have a police problem. So if we listen to the newspapers, we can't let the fake news, we can't let the other things determine that our police officers will keep us safe at night, make sure our kids can get to school and from school safe. It's always the right time to defend them and not defund them. So one of the things I'm very strong on is Second Amendment. I've been a huge gun rights person for many, many years, and I got an AQ rating from the IRA. Sorry, the NRA. I was looking over there. My apologies. From the NRA, I got an AQ rating, and which is the highest you can possibly get. I also got the recommend from a few other organizations regarding gun rights. I will always stand for unborn babies' rights, and I think that Illinois should outlaw late-term abortion. One of the things I've been working on is a direct classroom funding project to where we can get like a link card program for teachers to go to Walmart and other places so we can bypass the different school boards, like the superintendents, everybody else who tells them how they can spend or where they can spend the money. They can go to the store and buy directly what they need for the classroom. So kids in Chicago who come to school and they share pencils, the teacher will be able to go out and buy a pack of pencils. We can bypass that, all the school boards taking that money away and dictating those things from them. We can really make a huge change to the children's learning habits across the state. I want to finish up on a few things. I know we've been going for a few hours here. My opponent does want to tax your retirement incomes. She's been on record many times stating she wants to do that. She just in a candidate's survey with Sun Times said that cops are implicitly biased towards black people, meaning the cops are racist, so she's not a great person with that. She also stated that Illinois does not have a spending problem, and as we all know, Illinois has an absolutely terrible spending problem. So I'm sorry, Ms. Capel, you're way off base on that one.
and she's 100% a socialist, as she's like running around with all of her progressive friends and having fun. So vote McCullough, and also since we're getting late in the season, we've only got 10 days or 17 days now until mail-in ballots go out. Instead of maybe if you don't have like $5 or $10 to send out as donations, go on everybody's candidates you saw here today and take their Facebook page, share, like, comment. You're going to piss a few friends off, and it's okay. Maybe we don't want the liberal socialists on our Facebook pages anyway, but share people's pages. Share those posts, share those comments, share those articles you see coming out. You might have 10 friends in that area, and instead of sending a $5 check or donating $5 in a bucket, that's the same amount of money it would cost to reach those same 5 or 10 people. There might be people that weren't targeted in the first place. So take that time, share those posts, and share anything you see on those people. Make a few comments and share it out there. And I feel the biggest threat facing our nation right now is socialism. And it's something that if in 2008 or 2006, I never would have thought we'd even be in the position we're in right now, where the number one person on the ticket was a socialist. Open socialist with Bernie Sanders, and now we've got Kamala Harris, who's like the queen communist bee, and it's terrifying. And I can't wait to see that happen. Was there any questions coming up? Yes, sir.
Yeah, what party?
Meg is a Democrat, but she's a communist Democrat. So yeah.
I received some marketing pieces from her.
Okay.
Where are marketing pieces? Where on research online I did. Democrat.
Oh, yeah, Meg Campbell.
She's a Democrat. She doesn't listen to all her marketing pieces are online as a Democrat.
So
that's what she's for and all that, but it doesn't say anything. Democrat doesn't listen to her.
So that's a great point. So Meg Campbell's sending out mailer pieces that don't even have the word Democrat on it. She spends all of her time trying to move to the middle, tell people, oh, I'm very, very moderate, and so on and so forth. We all know that's a complete lie. She also said, I called her a hypocrite in the newspaper, if you guys saw that article, that she said she's against corruption on her website. She's like, oh, I'm so against corruption, but then she takes over $200,000 from the same organizations and the same firms that gave over $1 million to Madigan. So if you want to call somebody a hypocrite, feel free. Any other questions? Anybody online? Cool. McCullough, McCullah, number 4, Senate on Facebook. Thank you.
Well, you guys don't want to see me today, so I figured I'll pop in real quick and say hello. Thanks, Tom. Great job. Ben Beerley for the State Senate 43 is next. Come on up.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Beerley, Major United States Marine Corps, retired. I am running for Illinois State Senate here in the 43rd District, and I'm happy to tell you so far that it's been going really, really good. The message that I've been going out with after listening to the folks in the district, we all have kind of the same concerns, and it's from the far left to the far right. I guess as you see it, from the far left to the far right. It's been the same message, and it's been the taxes and fees are out of control. The overspending is killing the state and driving people out of the state. Ethics, people are tired of seeing the corruption, and I only half-jokingly say that the federal penitentiary here in Illinois has a governor's wing. Apparently, they need another tenant down there.
Yeah.
So, ethics. People want to see some real ethics in down in Springfield, and I've been pushing for that. I also want to see, as a result of that, the term limits. They want to see us limit ourselves to be, if you will, subject, or I should say citizen legislators, or rather than professional legislators. They want to see us return and live under the rules that we have established for everyone else. Wouldn't that be a change? I also want to tell you that, I've been out arguing for supporting the police, reopening Illinois, and I'm going to start a new one, and you're going to see this here in the next few days. We're going to announce a schedule to start rallies for reopening our schools. It's really hurting our kids. Our kids deserve so much better than what they're getting. Do you understand just how little COVID-19 has actually affected those who are 22 and under? It is almost imperceptible in terms of the negative effects on them. Really, the only ones we're having any negative effects from the coronavirus are those who have, on average, at least 2 other conditions, other underlying conditions, something respiratory that goes with it that causes the problem. If they don't have that, they're actually losing out a lot more than they're gaining by staying home. The quality of the education is less. They don't have any sports programs, no after-school programs, no counseling and other supports that kids need in order to be successful in life. So we really need to fight for these things. This is what people are asking for. Now, not everybody's asking for all of that, and so we need to say, what? How about we make some responsible decisions as adults? Doesn't that make a lot of sense? That we be empowered to make the decisions that we believe are best for our families? That is the message that is resonating with everybody from the hard left to the hard right are ecstatic to hear that. Even people who hate Donald Trump are voting for me because of this message. Because this is what they want to see in Springfield here in 2020 and in the coming years. So let me, now that I've come out and give you this explosion of, hey, where are we at? Let me back up and tell you a little bit about myself for those who don't know. So, like I said, my name is Major Ben Beerling, and you ask me, Major what? Well, not a major pain in the butt, though some would argue that is true. I am a Major United States Marine Corps retired. I'm a 20-year veteran and a disabled veteran at that. I served 3 combat tours, 2 in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq. And, I was disabled there in Afghanistan through a non-combat injury. Still, I was able to make it to 20 years by God's grace. People ask questions. Sometimes I hear them say something like, what are your qualifications for office? And quite frankly, I got to tell you, that's not a great question. Because what you're asking for, qualifications are those that are listed in the Constitution. So are you of age and have you lived in district long enough to be qualified to run for that office? But what people are actually want to know is, hey, if you get the job, how do we know? Are you going to have the experience in the training to do the job well? And I actually need to read this off to you. So stand by. So political experience for you. Okay, elected. I am the chair of the Jackson Township Republican Party. I'm Jackson Township 1 committee person. I was also the chair of the Stafford County Public Schools Budget Advisory Committee. Now you're asking where's Stafford County? That's in Virginia. So I did that for 2 years out there. Other experience. I was with the Virginia Tea Party Patriots. Remember that? Tea Party Patriots are still around. In fact, I would argue that if the Republican Party stuck to its principles, there never would have been a Tea Party. But I was at the state committee level doing legislative operations. In the Marine Corps, I had quite a list. I was actually deputy camp commander at Camp Hansen, Okinawa, which is like being a deputy mayor, except you have all the towns around your town happen to be a foreign country. So I did that for a time. I was actually a traffic court officer on the legal side, as well as an initial review officer. Those who were thrown in prison, they have, within 72 hours, they have to have an initial review of whether they should stay there. I did that, again, on the judicial side for the Marine Corps. Supply and logistics, policy, creation, and enforcement. How about this one? Budget planning and execution. If I did in the Marine Corps that they do down there in Springfield, I would be in Leavenworth right now, people. I can't stress enough how important it is that we have responsible adults go down to Springfield and work for you so you can keep your money and we can still get the services that we need to have here in this state. Now, I already mentioned reopen Illinois and reopen schools, and I want to tell you that things are going well. If you do see me and I have a bucket, I do want you to throw $5 in it. Despite what Tom said, he doesn't need it. I do to keep my momentum going. But please come out when you see those rallies to support the schools and support opening states and businesses. Come out, see me, say hi. As for what we need most in our country right now, the biggest problem that we have, I can only stress it with what John Adams said. He said that religion, our Constitution was written for a religious and moral people. It is wholly unsuited for the government of any other. Our culture has gotten so far away from our roots that we are arguing about things that are crazy. You know, the value of life in school seems to be non-existent. The violence on our streets, go on and on. Spending other people's money, not being responsible for ourselves, ignoring our family responsibilities and our citizenship responsibilities. It all gets back to this. We are responsible ultimately to God, and we are responsible to each other. We need to understand that and get back to that in the cultural sense. We cannot solve all the problems at the legislative level with politics. We've created a whole lot more than we solve. How are we going to fix it? We need to work together, one, to allow God to come back into our schools, come back into our lives, and come back into our homes. Thank you. What's that? Oh, yeah. Hey, folks, thank you very much, George, for pointing that out. Hey, folks, my website is ben4illinois.com. That's Ben, the number 4, Illinois.com. That's great. Sorry. Yes.
And the federal funds that use subsidize private and local education. And we said it had $15,000 of money going to public schools. Maybe some way between state vouchers to parents, so they could use that money to send it to the
It's interesting that you say that, because my family's run the gamut. We have 5 children. My oldest is leaving for the Army on Sunday. He's going to basic training. We've homeschooled. We have 3 in private school. My oldest just graduated public school, and then my second is also at a public high school. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Why do we go through all those 3 options? This is the reason, really. Education has to be about the individual child. The one-size-fits-all narrative that we hear right now, it no longer fits our educational needs for our children. They honestly need to have an individual assessment. And part of that is giving parents the power to reach out and put their children in the best position possible for them. And this will actually save money. The average private school costs a lot less than public school and can still produce better results. Now, I'm not for closing public schools, don't get me wrong. And I think that we can do both. We're not teachers, you're not going to lose your jobs. They may be at a different school, but you're still going to get your job. You can still get paid just as much. It's just less hassle of overhead that you have to deal with and more control of your own class. Oh, sure. Amy.
Teachers that play a better education.
competition always breeds better success in the long run. Okay. Thank you.
Moving right along. Now we're moving into our federal candidates. And we have the 2nd Congressional District, Ms. Teresa Rayburn.
I'm Teresa Rayburn. I'm running for the 2nd Congressional District. That includes all of Kankakee County, eastern parts of Will County, and the south suburbs of Cook County, and a little bit of Chicago. So I have everything from rural farmers to gangsters and gangbangers. So, and everything in between. So I have a very diverse district. My opponent is basically a city gal who does not understand what is going on in our rural areas. As far as the Peatone Airport, she supports it. And she was just in an article not too long ago with a whole bunch of people that supported it. And when I looked at the picture, the first thing I noticed said those were all Cook County people. And I actually posted on Facebook, why didn't you actually ask the people that would be affected in Will County? It's big city politics trying to push their ideas on suburbs and rural areas, and that should not be occurring. Considering that I was born and raised in Kankakee County, and Will County was basically my next door neighbor, I was in Will County quite a bit. Growing up, I saw all those signs for no airport. My background is that I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I went to law school for about a year. It was during my first year that I met my husband, so I made a career change from law to raising a family. And that's what I've been doing. I'm a homeschooling mom, but I have a lot of background. Before I started a family, I was a claims processor for Cigna Healthcare for 9 years. And like I said, the criminal justice and law school, I've done just about any job that is legal and doesn't require extensive time out in the sun. So, and I have done farm work, which was only 1 week, but still, it was on my uncle's farm. I've done factory, waitress, fast food, manager. I've owned my own business. I've even driven an 18-wheeler. Okay, I know. A little hard to imagine a short person like me, but it's really cool when you're short and you're way up in front of in that big truck. I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little girls. I never intended to get in politics. As a matter of fact, when I was finishing up my bachelor's degree, the next step up would have been a master's in political science. I did not want to go into politics, so that was not a very good option, so I went to law school. And then I ended up not finishing law school, raised a family, and here I am in politics. This was not part of my plan, but 2 years ago I saw the direction that our country was headed in, and that there were a lot of Democrats and never-Trumpers in Congress that were really fighting against our president. And I really loved his policies that he was putting forward. And I said, we need more people like us to go to Washington and to back him and to be able to push those solutions. And I started coming up with solutions for everything from education, healthcare, immigration, criminal justice, and I started writing all these. My husband said, well, you need to run for office and put those forward. So they're all on my website. I have over 30 bills and solutions. About a third of those deal with congressional accountability, because we do need to hold Congress more accountable to we the people. One of those is my balanced budget amendment. A lot of people say that Congress and our federal government needs to live within its means. I disagree. I think Congress needs to live below its means. So my bill actually says that they can only budget for up to 90% of the expected revenue. So we can use that other 10% to start tackling that debt and take that weight off of our children and grandchildren. And for those of you running at the state level, if you want to take a look at that bill on my website, maybe do an Illinois type one like that. So we can have the federal and the state both working within a budget. One of the biggest things about me running for Congress, and that's different from my opponent, is that she has referred to religion as voodoo. And that was in the Chicago Tribune. And she has voted in favor of late-term partial birth and post-birth abortion, also known as infanticide, more than 6 times. Which, of course, that makes sense considering she thinks religion is voodoo. She doesn't value life or anything like that. There are 2 things that I will be taking with me to Washington, and before every vote, I will consult 2 documents to make sure I'm not violating these 2 documents, which are the most important documents in my life. The Bible and the Constitution. I will not violate that. As far as the biggest problem that we face, I'd like to say that it, like a lot of people, that it's these anarchists, communists, but actually, it's complacency. When I was growing up, the Cold War was going on. I thought the biggest enemy, the biggest thing to fear was Russia. And then it was Saddam Hussein. And then it was Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, and then ISIS. I always thought that the biggest threat to America was on the other side of the world from a bunch of people who screamed death to America. What I didn't realize is the hatred that was fomenting in our schools and in our media. And what we are living through right now is the result of that. Because while all of us were working, building businesses, and raising our families, this was going on behind the scenes. And now we see the result of it. We are in a war right now. And November 3rd, if we know the results that night, we're either going to have a country or we're not. And that scares me because I brought my children into this world thinking that it was going to be the same type of world that I grew up in. And I cannot, as a mother, sit by on the sidelines any longer. That's why I'm in this fight. Because I'm fighting for my children's future, because with every breath in me, I will not let this country fall to socialism and communism. We need to all get in this fight. The time of sitting on the sidelines is gone. You're either in it or you're siding with the communists and socialists. Which, by the way, socialism is just a stepping stone for communism, so be clear on that. So everyone needs to do whatever they can. Volunteer on campaigns. Get out there and help us. Donate everything you can. And remember, our founding fathers, when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they pledged their fortunes, their names, their reputations, and their very lives on an idea that did not yet exist except in their minds. We have that. Are we going to let it fall because I got bills to pay and I'm just busy? Are we really going to lose it because we're being complacent again? So this is a call to action. Everyone who loves this country and doesn't want to lose their freedoms, now is that time. I'm standing up. I've been going to reopen Illinois rallies, back blue rallies. I'm now being doxxed. I'm putting everything on the line. My family's safety is on the line. Everything I hold dear. And I just ask for a little bit of help. Any questions? Oh, my website is Rayborn for Congress. That's RABORNFORCONGRESS. I know it's long. Sorry. .com, and that's where you can donate there. You can also donate on WinRed, where if you want to go to WinRed, you can donate to the president. You can donate to a bunch of us other candidates all at one place. It's a one-stop shop for donating to Republicans. And Facebook is Rayborn for Congress. Twitter is Rayborn for Congress, except on Twitter, that's too many characters, so the 4 instead of FOR, it's the number 4. and Instagram. Pretty much out there on all of it, I think. Most of it. Trying to keep up with it all. Any other questions?
Platform favor of permission, families going.
Actually, the single-family zoning is something that I just started looking into, and I'm not sure of her position on that right now, but she's very anti-family in a lot of ways. I think she really wants more of the apartment buildings and stuff.
Corporation of I have farmland converting it to hill farms and covered I thought I wanted to do a search of society still works.
Yeah.
And the next to it is since '69 when it started the walk, some really don't even work. Go types of farms.
Aww.
One group for paid. I doubt anyone even thought of it. But there's a federal law in the books that is bold illegal or above legal, federal crime, and you can find up to 20,000. But when you windmill farms and the soil, that's just part of the business.
Yeah, it's funny that the same people that support all of the animal rights and everything also support all the environmental things, so they put up all these windmills, and so you're kind of doing one and letting the other one fall to the wayside, and not. So they're sacrificing the birds in order to have the windmills. Yes. Thank you.
I have a question on the budget.
Okay.
To consider having a proposal prior to
So using
fiscal year based on previous.
well, yeah, there's two different.
So expecting something and then they list one.
Right.
Which is what I like.
So that's a question on my balanced budget bill and whether or not I would be interested in balancing it based on the previous year versus the future year. That's actually another great idea, and actually I do work out kind of on that bill on the website. I actually show how that would work based on last year's budget. It's really hard to figure out when you're trying to do an estimated budget because as we found out this year, anything can happen. And so you may think you're getting, say, $4 trillion, and you're not going to end up with that. So you're already over budget just by June. So you may have to do that based on the previous year. But one thing that I also left out of that one is that I actually put in the requirements of being able to do this in a bipartisan way. So it would be, the overage would be divided in half, and the House has to work on one half of cutting from their budget, and then the Senate has to do from their half. And since we're going to be in the House, it'll be based on how much your party needs to cut is based on your equitable amount in Congress. So if you have 55% is Republican and 45% is Democrat, Democrats have to cut 45% of that overage that they're responsible for. We'll get into more details, but it really does make it more bipartisan, so you can't, the Republicans and the Democrats won't be arguing with each other, they'll actually be arguing within their own party. Yeah, I think that when we are are talking about cutting, we need to cut a little bit here and there. One thing is about budget cuts, is that when we are talking about what is often referred to as entitlement programs, I want those cuts to come from the administrative side, not from the benefit side, because we do have a lot of bloat in the administrative side. And as far as education, yes, I have a great plan so that we can get better at educating our children while saving money. And just as an example, I went ahead and worked the numbers for Chicago public schools. Under my plan, they would save $2 billion a year without touching teacher salaries. Now, if you can imagine that and multiply that across the nation, we can save a lot on education while we're improving education and individualized. Any more? It actually would be coming from what we're already using. It's actually coming from the curriculum budget, is where that is mostly coming from. And the curriculum, actually my education plan is based on the very same curriculum that I use to homeschool my kids. And what we do is we take it, we scrub it of the religious aspects. I use a Christian-based education, and we would have a secular version and a biblical one. We could offer that both in the public schools, and the parents can decide without trampling on anyone else's religious freedoms. That's it. Okay. Oh. Oh. Sorry. I was just curious. Yes. I want to know what well, we always need more support for homeschoolers. That's one thing that I will say with being a homeschooling mom. It was the right decision for my family, but not for everyone. And then when we all went to homeschooling, trust me, I was not happy that everyone was homeschooling, because there's a lot of families that just simply can't. But we do need, I think we should be able to use some of our tax dollars, because you're paying into property taxes, you don't get that money back. But then you're spending all this additional money to educate your children yourself. So you should be able to get that tax break and use it to educate your children in a different manner, instead of having to pay for the public schools. And this actually works the same with private schools. If I had my kids in private school, you know, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars a year on top of what I'm already paying for the public schools. Why shouldn't I be able to use my property tax dollars that go to education, because about 2/3, I think, go to my education school system. So why shouldn't I be able to use that portion to put towards the tuition at a private school if I want? That should be an option, and I definitely support school choice.
Yes. Well, then, if you'd be interested in how you homeschooling with
basically voucher.
Then would you be in support of homeschoolers registered with the state?
This is one of those weird things. Homeschooling is actually a very weird thing here in Illinois, because we have very relaxed homeschooling laws, which I love. Because it should be up to the parents. But that is an interesting question, because you would be basically giving up your freedom in order to get that financial benefit, and that's not right. You shouldn't have to give up a financial benefit in order to exercise the right. It's kind of the same thing where we have Second Amendment. They want to keep raising the taxes on that with 5717, House Bill 5717. You're getting to a point where it's no longer a right. It's a privilege if you can afford it. That's not right. So, yeah, I think we need to keep that control with the parents, because I do believe that the best people to direct our children are their parents, not a bunch of strangers that don't know them. Any more? Oh,
I'm sorry. catching on or that homes get killed?
Well, like I said, I have over 30 bills and solutions on my website. One is actually called FUND. It's Fundamental Urban New Deal to help urban areas, especially when there's a lot of these issues and problems. One is mentorships. I really would like to see married couples mentor to young parents, and to see business owners mentoring to young entrepreneurs. We need to, because a lot of people growing up in those situations with only a single parent and no one was a business owner, how do you start that when you never had that example? We need people to step up, and I want to start some programs like that from the federal level to help our inner cities. And I think it would work very well with President Trump's opportunity zones, and it would fit right into that. But there's actually a 10-point plan. That's just a couple of the parts of that plan. Do you have one? Is that it? Okay. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Teresa. Great information there. Please check out our website and read up on the 30 different bills. That's somebody that's actually put in some thought in this. All right. Very impressive. Very impressive. All right. Let's bring up Mr. Rick. Oi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rick Live. I'm running for the 11th Congressional District. I run as a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-free market candidate. We want to see less of the government, more self-reliance on yourself. People can navigate themselves. They can govern themselves. That's really what we want to see. And I think that would make for a more, not just a more efficient government, but a more effective one as well. If you, I have 24 years with the Will County Sheriff's Office, and if you told me last year, hey, you're a police officer, you should consider running for office, I don't know if I would have agreed with that just by virtue of being a police officer, and yet here we are in 2020, and we've seen one of the most attacked professions is law enforcement. And I think really that's just kind of an outworking of what we're seeing in some of the leftist policies. We're really going for lawlessness. We're moving away from any kind of restriction, and you don't want to be denied anything. We really want to indulge, and we're going to be moving faster and faster toward the bankrupt governments, whether it's financially or just morally or ethically. And so we just need to kind of do some very basic ideas. We were asked earlier, what's the most critical, what's the biggest threat to America? And we've heard lots of different answers, and I'm not in disagreement with what people are saying we're being threatened by. But for me, I keep coming back to this idea of a pro-life. Abortion is still legal in the United States. I don't see how you can advocate for anything else. We can talk about fiscal responsibility. We can talk about taking care of our police. We can talk about all these kinds of things, but it doesn't matter if you're not alive, if you can't enjoy it, if you have no right to be alive. So that, as long as abortion is still legal, I can't see, really, I don't know why we're talking about anything else, quite frankly. So I don't know if there's a question for me. Okay, even better. Very fine. I'll give you a hand. All right.
So, obviously the Democrats scored all. Fourm, Ring, Andrew, a couple hours now apparently, and what's happening there?
So, is that the question? I was just going to repeat it. Yeah, so the question is that the left is for different stages of abortion, phases of abortion, conditions of abortion. Do I want to stop it entirely? Yes. I can't think of any kind of qualification where I would say abortion is okay. I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you say if something is alive, why would you say it's okay at this point, or at this point, or at this juncture, or at this step, or at this point of development, that it's okay to take its life? I don't know why you would do that. Dennis?
Do you support any funding for Planned Parenthood?
Would I support funding for Planned Parenthood? No, that's crazy. This is why Toys R Us. So, this is what I said. The question is, would I support funding for Planned Parenthood? No, I would not. That's like when Toys R Us is going bankrupt because they're eliminating their own base. I don't understand what they're doing here. So, no, I would not support any funding. I don't know why that would be the first thing to go. That's kind of here's a little tip for anybody out there running for office. Somebody will say, what kind of things should come from the government? Start with Planned Parenthood. You don't have to say anything else. Just look at the person who asked the question.
running against professor of science.
You say that with some solemnness in your tone, don't you? Just all right.
There's an man's Joe outside the streets of the hospital. So yeah, my satellite.
So what's the question? I don't know. I don't know where he got the money for all his offices. The question is about my opponent, where he got all of this funding for all of these offices, physical offices that he seems to run. And I don't know where he comes up with these. I don't know how he... I feel like he should be thanking all of you for paying for it, but I don't know really what...
I have been Bill I $5 billion just for higher education and research. When we did it, it was the cost of living for it was to rise year after year. So, it's no use to purpose, and I don't know, but that's the same.
If your question is, if I agree with you that it serves no purpose, then yes, I agree with you. There's no purpose. We want to look very ruthlessly at different areas where we can take the government out of these kinds of business, and education would be another one. Thank you. Any other questions for me? Thank you so much, Nick. All right, hold on, applause. Nick. 24 years with the Will County Sheriff's Office. All right, thank you, Nick. That's kind of... Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. It will not. So there's some other online Zoom debates that are coming up. They're not debates. They'll be like point counterpoints. You can be looking for those. You can find them at ricklive2020.com. They can do so. How can people give me money? They can do so generously and confidently on ricklive2020.com. LAID2020.com. I'm on WinRed as well. Yeah, I'm not hard to find, and I'm not hard to give to. So it's just a little bit of click money to find. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, guys.
Alright. We are moving right along. Is Mike Frizzle still on the line here? I'm seeing 41. Okay. Mike, hey Mike, how you doing, bud? How's it going? You're supposed to talk.
Can you hear me now? All right. I'll be brief. This is Mike Frizzle. I'm running for the 3rd District Congress. And, I've been on the Will County Board for 7 years now. I'm a public servant because I want to be. I'm a politician because I have to be. Because that's the only way to become a public service, unfortunately. I thought I was doing a solid for our party by running against a Nazi, beating a Nazi, and my reward for beating him was I get to run against a socialist commie. And so that's my race now. I'm running against socialist commie Marie Newman. And if you just go down the laundry list, she wants to defund police. She wants everything to be free. She wants the government to run your health care. She wants the Green New Deal. And it goes right to the question, what's the biggest problem right now in America? And that's there are people like Marie Newman who want to change what this government is about. And we've got to stop that. We've got to stop the AOCs and the Bernies from turning our government into a Venezuela or one of the other socialist countries. That's my main focus. I don't have a personal agenda. My job is to bring back as many dollars as I can to our district and make sure that our district is solid and whole. And so my biggest goal right now is letting people know who I'm running against more than letting them know who I am. Because if they know who she is, they will not vote for her. They will vote for me. I have a fundraiser this coming Wednesday out in Crystal Tree in Orland Park. My district goes from Crest Hill all the way to Bridgeport, another one of those wonderful gerrymandered districts. We can win. I was just at the FOP in Chicago today. while we were on the meeting. I think John Cottonsaro was calling me to tell me I got their endorsement. And that's going to go a long way to put us over the top. So thanks for your support. If you go to Mike at MikeFrizzalone.com, MikeFrizzalone.com, FrizzaloneForCongress.com, all of those different scenarios, you'll be able to get information on me, and you'll be able to donate on WinRed as well. I'd like to take questions, but it's pretty tough to hear, George, so I probably can't answer anything unless there's something specific you want to pass along.
Thanks, Mike.
All
right. Thank you. To go. All right. And we're moving in with our last candidate, actually. Jim Oberweis, yeah. Mr. Oberweis, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks very much to all of you for spending this evening. It's been probably a long evening for you. And most of you know who I am. I've spent my entire life in the business community. Started Oberweis Asset Management. I started the Oberweis Family Mutual Funds, and about 25 years ago, when my older brother had a stroke and was unable to continue in the dairy business, I bought Oberweis Dairy. Since then, we've grown it from about 50 employees to over 1,200 employees. I'm lucky because I have one son running the asset management business, the other son running Oberweis Dairy, and I've been free to try to help change the direction of our state and our country. For the last 7.5 years, I've served in the Illinois Senate. This is my 8th and final year. I believe in term limits. I think 8 years is enough. And I really thought I'd be spending some time with my 24 grandkids this winter. But a funny thing happened on the way to spending time with the grandkids when Lauren Underwood beat Randy Hultgren. She had run as a moderate Democrat, but since then has voted like a radical socialist. In fact, this year she has voted 100% of the time with Nancy Pelosi. That doesn't fit with our district. She has refused. We've called on her to terminate her joint fundraising account with Mike Madigan. She's refused to do that. We call on her to ask Mike Madigan to step down his speakership post. She's refused to do that. We've called on her to ask Terry Link to resign. Terry Link is the Lake County Democrat Party chairman and a fellow state senator with me. She's refused to do that. She's been hiding like Biden. Some of her voting has been absolutely crazy. She voted to give every illegal alien in this country $1,200 stimulus checks and free health care. This kind of stuff doesn't make sense. We've called on her to condemn the rioting and looting that has been going on. That shouldn't be a political issue. We should all support protests and demonstrations as long as they are not violent. I protest violence in Chicago myself. I marched down Michigan Avenue with Pastor Corey Brooks. But when you start burning businesses and stealing everything you can, that's gone way too far, and we need to stop that. When we called on her to discuss that in a debate last week, she made a comment something to the effect of, this has been a beautiful way to protest civil injustice. That's a crazy statement in my opinion. I believe there have been some police that have made some mistakes. We've got to do everything we can to get better training and to get rid of the bad apples. But that doesn't mean that every policeman is bad, for heaven's sakes. They defend our country, they defend our people, they defend our property. We need to support our police. They risk their lives for us every day. I defend the police. She defunds the police. And we're going to go forward and get the seat back. According to Kevin McCarthy, our minority leader, this is the most likely Republican pickup in Illinois and one of the most likely congressional Republican pickups in the entire country. So we can use help, we can use volunteers. The RNC recently provided us with a generic ballot test, and for this congressional district, it came out 51% Republican, 43% Democrat, which is very, very good. And every county in the district, all 7 counties, were leaning Republican, with one exception. Not Will, it was the little teeny bit of DuPage that I have. Will was only +1. The rest of the counties, other than DuPage, were +7, 8, 9, 10. McHenry was the strongest at +13. This is a very, very winnable race. We can use your help. We're looking for volunteers. If you go to our website, it's www.gym2020.com. Give us your email address, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on. Sign up to volunteer. You can make calls from home. You can knock on doors. We'd love to have your help. And I'll tell you, I've been out knocking on doors every weekend. And during the week, I'm typically making fundraising calls. But on the weekend, we've been knocking on doors, and it's really interesting. Almost nobody supports or wants to vote for Joe Biden. Many people out there and support and want to vote for the president. Unfortunately, a lot of people out there also who want to vote against the president. But nobody seems to want to vote for Biden. Pretty weak candidate. And I guess my message to people has been, look, let's vote for the right policies over personalities. Because we know that the president sometimes gets a little overboard on some of the things, but what he's done for the country, the policies have been absolutely great, in my opinion. And I think that's it. I appreciate your time. If anybody has any questions, George, maybe you can relay them to me, if so.
Sure. The first question is, what is the biggest threat to America?
The biggest threat to America, I would say we're in some pretty crazy times. I think the Antifa and some of the civil strife where people are suddenly thinking they can burn down businesses or steal whatever they want. I think that's a serious threat to where we're going. In a word, I guess socialism would be the word as to the biggest threat to America. But that's why I'm running. I want to make sure that our grandkids have the same kinds of economic opportunities that I had during my life. This is the greatest country in the world. I mean, look, are there some things that could be better? Sure. But let me ask, what other country do people want to go to? This is the #1 place in the world that people would like to come to. That's because we've got a great system, we've got great opportunities, we've got great freedoms, and great economic opportunities. And I'll do my part to see that it stays that way. Thank you all very much.
We have one more question, Jim.
Okay.
Your opponent, Ms. Underwood, will phrase herself as a regular practicing nurse. And she is anything but that. And is there any documentation at all that she has ever worked in medical quality?
Thanks. That's a great question. The RNC has set up a site where they're calling the fake nurse because of that. What we do know is she does have a nursing degree, although she failed the test the first time she took it, and over 90% pass the first time they take it. But she did pass the second time. Actually, I raised this very issue with her in the debate that we had before the Chicago Sun-Times editorial board last week, and her answer was, nurses do lots of things. It's not just practicing in a hospital. We do lots of other things like education and teaching people about things. So the answer is no, she's never been a practicing nurse. And I brought up the point that I have a daughter who's a nurse practitioner, and in March and April, she was working 12-hour days trying to help people, trying to help figure out what was going on with this COVID-19. And if Lauren Underwood was a nurse, Lauren Underwood should have been doing the same thing, and she wasn't.
sir. I think that's it. All right. Thank you again, Jim. I want to give a big thank you to all our candidates and our participants that have been here tonight and our audience here and on Zoom. You guys have been wonderful. I know it's been a long night, but I think we've heard a lot of great ideas from all our candidates. That's why Will County, I know your polling is saying +1, Jim, but I guarantee you, we're going to pull out some miracles right out of Will County because we've got some strong candidates out here. We're going to kick ass November 3rd. And we're going to hold Lauren Underwood to her statement that she will not accept a ballot after November 3rd. We're going to have people at the polling places to make sure that happens. Let's go to work, people. Let's work for these candidates. Let's get them elected. $5 or not. Share and share like all their social media stuff. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Good evening to you.